Hello, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the sun. Oh, my dog just fell. Welcome back to reading Epictetus. And as we all know, Epictetus was actually lame. No, he was awesome. Yeah, he had actually something with his leg where people speculate, did his master break it, or was it like since birth? Anyway, let's just jump to the text because that's what we want to do, right? And here's a very interesting thing. Did I read that last time already? Yeah. So never say anything I have lost, but instead say I have given back. And he says, when your wife dies, just say, oh, I've given it back, right? I could have it for a while. And that seems to be very difficult to maintain this attitude. I couldn't. And he says also the same for when somebody steals something from you, right? This is the price of tranquility. This is the price of not being upset. Nothing comes for free. So this is how we have to behave, right? And then we have the famous story of the banquet. Remember, you must behave as you do at a banquet. And it basically means when things are passed around, you always control yourself and you just say when something comes to you, you say, thank you so much. Now I enjoy it. But if you really want to be like a god, right, then even when the things come to you, you won't need that food because it's external. Then you have really reached the depths of stoicism that you want to reach. And it just goes on like that. And this is also interesting, right? When a man comes and actually mourns, right, what weighs down on this man is not what has happened, since it does not weigh down on someone else, but his judgment about it. So the man has no reason to be sad if he just changes his judgment. Everything will be fine, right? And that's certainly true. If somebody dies, I just have to adjust my judgment and then everything is fine, right? How would I feel like in 2 years when something like that happens? Maintaining the bigger picture. But isn't that making us a little bit unrelatable? And he says then in the following, do not hesitate, however, to sympathize with him verbally and even to moan with him if the occasion arises. But be careful not to moan inwardly. So if you come to me and I say, oh yeah, that's so bad, that's so bad, that's so bad, I'm not doing it authentically, right? I mourn with you, moan, but in fact, I feel nothing. So, so yeah, basically what it says is you can't get your feelings hurt if you're already dead inside. So this is maybe how it works. I don't know. Is it a philosophy that diminishes feelings? Maybe not. Maybe feelings are allowed, but you should not be attached to them because they are not you. Remember that you are an actor in a play, which is as the playwright wants it to be. Short if he wants it short, long if he wants it long. If he wants you to play a beggar, play even this part skillfully, or a cripple, or a public official, or a private citizen. What is yours is to play the assigned part well, but to choose it belongs to someone else. So yeah, we are somehow captured in a play, and so all emotions are just played. There is nothing real. So as Hegel says, the world is melting away, right? The world is not having any significance anymore. The only thing that matters is you inside. And then you should also react the same way when, for example, you get a bad sign. Like this is also interesting, an unfavorable sign. None of these signs is for me, but only for my pity body or my pity property or my pity judgments or children or wife. So just detach, detox from yourself. You can be invincible if you do not enter any contest in which victory is not up to you. And this is another question, right? Should Germany, for example, have said before 2022 World Cup, we don't go there, then we cannot lose. Yeah. But how do you know before? How do you know before if you don't try? So isn't it then that you just stay at home and don't try anything anymore? Remember that what is insulting is not the person who abuses you or hits you, but the judgment about them that they are insulting. So when someone irritates you, be aware that what irritates you is your own belief. Yeah, and in a certain sense, it's true. If somebody calls you an asshole, you just like, yeah, this dude is stupid, right? But what if this one is challenging your public persona and you actually risk to lose reputation? Is it that easy? And then another famous passage, let death and exile, everything that is terrible appear before your eyes every day, especially death. Think about it any moment, at any second. And then you will never have anything contemptible in your thoughts or crave anything excessively. So yeah, should we really do that? Should we constantly think of death? Maybe. So in 26, it's about a little bit about changing the perspective, right? So when somebody breaks a cup, you feel quite indifferent. And so also if you lose somebody, you should try to understand how you would feel if you were not yourself. And then not moan. And here he speaks about general admiration of Olympic victories. And don't we also want that? And yeah, he says that's great, but see what there's so much work into there, right? And you have to recognize this, since otherwise you will be behaving the way children do, who play wrestlers one time, gladiators another time, blow trumpets another time, then act a play. In this way, you too are now an athlete, now a gladiator, then an orator, then a philosopher, yet you are nothing wholeheartedly, but like a monkey. You're wholeheartedly a monkey. You mimic each side that you see, and one thing after another is to your taste, since you do not undertake a thing after considering it from every side, but only randomly and half-heartedly. Okay, this here is also interesting, that many people try to be philosophers, but they don't really want to be philosophers. They just want to imitate philosophers by utilizing the arguments. And Epictetus says here, well, inspect your own nature and whether you can bear to be a philosopher. Because what does it mean to be a philosopher? Well, he doesn't say that here yet, but he says, well, think about whether you want to exchange these things for tranquility, freedom, and calm. So, like, I think he mentions before success and so on, like the normal pursuits that we have in society. If not, do not embrace philosophy. And do not, like children, be a philosopher at one time, later a tax collector, then an orator, then a procurator of the emperor. These things don't go together. And then he says you must either work on your ruling principle or work on externals. Practice the art either of what is inside or what is outside. That is, play the role of a philosopher or of a non-philosopher. So your ruling principle as a philosopher means just to retreat into yourself, and you cannot burden yourself with externals. That's very interesting, right? So he has a very limited view of how we should perceive philosophy. And I'm not sure if he's right or wrong. And it also relates to the famous quote of Epictetus that you should not just talk about philosophy, but you have to embody it. So yeah, and this is what Epictetus then says, well, how do you embody it? Well, you have to understand your clear principle, and the things that are in your control are only inside of you. It's not external things, and you have to let them go. So I have chosen this last quote because I find that interesting. Like all these quotes that flood the internet. And the interesting thing, this guy here, it's not Epictetus. It's Epicurus. And actually they are close in their philosophies because, of course, Epicurus has a different standard, right? He says, well, it's good what makes pleasure, but you want to have a very long standing pressure. So a pleasure. Yeah, so you have to actually live a very tedious and ethical life. Yeah, but what I find interesting is that we have these quotes of these philosophers going around the internet, and people are just quoting them because they like to play philosophers. But what does it mean to be a philosopher? Well, I don't know. Maybe you let me know. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.